You know, the first night of an arranged marriage, it's this huge, loaded moment, right? It's filled with tradition, crazy expectations, and just a ton of pressure. We see it all the time in movies, we hear family members whispering about it, but what's it actually like? Well, let's pull back the curtain and really find out.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? What really happens when two people, who are basically strangers, are suddenly expected to become one overnight? We're going to get into the myth versus the fascinating, complex, and honestly, the very human reality of it all.
Okay, so before we could even get to what happens today, we've got to go back. We need to unpack the enormous, immense weight of history and culture that is piled onto this one single night. All right, let's not beat around the bush. For centuries, the whole point of the Suhagrat, the wedding night, was one thing, and one thing only: consummation. It wasn't about connecting emotionally or feeling comfortable. Nope, it was a duty, a non-negotiable part of the deal. And you can just imagine the kind of insane pressure that created.
And here's where that pressure really comes from. This concept, pariah dan, is key. It basically translates to others' property or others' wealth. And historically, that's how a daughter was seen, as someone who would eventually belong to her husband's family. I mean, think about that. It's not just a saying. It's a powerful idea that has shaped a woman's role and what's expected of her in a marriage, starting from when she's just a little girl.
And his quote from Pankaj Singh really drives that point home. He points out how mothers start preparing their daughters for the other family from childhood. So you see, this isn't some dusty ancient history. It's a living cultural process. For so many women, getting ready for marriage has meant getting ready for duty. And that first night, that was seen as the ultimate test.
And just when you think the pressure couldn't get any more intense, get this. Historically, the first night wasn't even private. Seriously, in a lot of older traditions, it was practically a family affair. You'd have relatives waiting right outside for proof that the marriage was consummated. The lack of privacy it's unimaginable to us now, right? But it really shows you how much this was about validating the marriage for the whole community.
Okay, so that's the heavy historical baggage. But what's really going on behind closed doors today, this is where it gets interesting. Let's shift gears from expectation to reality, because these personal stories, they paint a way more complex and human picture.
Now look, sometimes it really is like the movies. You've got these genuinely romantic experiences. Take this story from a woman named Meena. She talks about a kiss feeling like an electric current, shaking, but in a nice way. It just captures that beautiful sense of discovery when two people really connect from the get-go.
But then, you have the flip side. For every one of those fairy tale stories, there's this one, and it's just as real. We were like awkward strangers. I mean, can you imagine? You're totally exhausted from this huge wedding, and suddenly you're alone with someone you barely know. This person says they didn't even, on their honeymoon. The pressure to perform often just leads to nothing at all, and that's totally okay.
And this next one is so important because it really shows how things are changing. You have this husband telling his new wife, "We will someday make love, but you don't owe it to me. Let it come naturally." Wow, I mean, right there, he just completely reframes the entire night. It's not about duty anymore, it's about consent and patience. He just lifted all that pressure in an instant.
And sometimes the reality is just kind of funny. This guy, Manveer, tells this story about waiting patiently, and his new wife comes out of the shower wearing floral pajamas. He's like, not exactly the sexy lingerie I expected. And it's just so relatable, right? It perfectly shows the gap between the fantasy in our heads and the simple reality of just wanting to be comfortable after a long, exhausting day. And this one really gets to the heart of it. The vulnerability. She just looked at him and said, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," in a nervous voice. Think about how honest and raw that is. It just cuts through all the myths and expectations. It's not about being some master of seduction. It's just about two people, probably both pretty nervous, trying to figure it all out together.
So you might be thinking, okay, these are just a few stories, but they're not outliers. The numbers actually back this up. One survey found that 16% of people were disappointed by their wedding night. 16%! That's a pretty big number. It just proves that this idea of the perfect wedding night is, well, it's mostly a myth. All that pressure often just leads to a big letdown.
So, okay, the old rulebook is clearly out the window, and the reality is all over the place. The big question is, how are modern couples making this work? How do you actually go from being strangers to being spouses in a way that's, healthy and real? Well, experts have a pretty clear roadmap, and it's all about putting comfort way ahead of consummation. It really boils down to 4 steps. First, just decompress. You're exhausted. Take a breath together. Step 2, talk openly. Tell each other how you're feeling, even if it's super nervous. 3, and this is crucial, establish that there is no pressure. Agree that nothing has to happen tonight. And 4, just build comfort gradually. Start by just talking, maybe holding hands, cuddling. Simple stuff.
And sometimes just knowing what to say can make a world of difference. Things as simple as, "I'm really nervous about this. Are you nervous too?" That one question can just crack the whole thing wide open. Or saying, "Can we slow down a bit? I want to feel more comfortable first." It seems so small, but admitting that stuff out loud, it's a huge relief for everyone and starts building that foundation of honesty right away.
And look, this isn't just about surviving one awkward night. This is bigger. All these little steps, the talking, the patience, the focus on comfort, that's how you actually build a strong marriage. There's a psychological term for it, a sense of we-ness. It's that feeling that you're a team, that you're in this together. And that, my friends, is the real foundation of a partnership. It doesn't happen in one night. It's built slowly over time with trust.
So when you put it all together, what we're really witnessing here is a complete redefinition of the first night. It's like a quiet revolution, totally changing what this old tradition even means anymore. And this chart, it lays out that whole shift perfectly. We're moving away from the old school focus on duty, consummation, proof, and performance, and we're moving towards a whole new set of values: connection, consent, patience, and comfort. That's the new playbook. And really, this is the bottom line. The whole goal isn't just to have a successful first night. The goal is to have a successful marriage. And what experts are finding time and time again is that the couples with the best, most lasting intimacy are the ones who took their time. They prioritized emotional connection over rushing into anything physical. A little bit of patience on night 1, it pays off for years, even decades to come.
Which kind of leaves us with this big, fascinating question, right? If that one single act on the first night doesn't define the beginning of a marriage anymore, then what does? Is it the first really honest conversation you have? Is it the first time you laugh at the same stupid joke? You know, as these old traditions keep changing, maybe we all get to redefine where our life together really begins.